In the heart of boxing's golden age, when the sport was ruled by giants and warriors, there emerged one man who stood above the rest, not just because he won, but because of how he won. He didn't fight like others, he floated through violence. He didn't just punch, he painted on a canvas made of pain and leather. This man wasn't born a legend, he forged himself into one. With sweat, rhythm, and relentless discipline. His name? Sugar Ray Robinson.
But pound for pound, I still say Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest of all time.
This video isn't just a tribute. It's a deep dive into the engine that built the most complete fighter the sport has ever known. We're not here to replay his greatest knockouts or count his titles. We're here to strip it back, to the mornings he trained in silence, the roads he ran when no one was watching, and the mental fire he cultivated to become what many still call the greatest of all time. Welcome to Back to Boxing. Born Walker Smith Jr. in 1921, the boy who would one day be known as Sugar Ray Robinson found boxing early in life. At just 11 years old, he wandered into Detroit's Brewster Recreation Center, and everything changed. As the story goes, one night a young Walker stepped in for a no-show fighter at an amateur bout. Borrowing his friend Ray Robinson's AAU card to take his place, he climbed into the ring, and a star was born. That night, he didn't just win a fight, he found the name and the identity that would become legendary. By the time Robinson turned professional in 1940, he had already built an astonishing amateur record of 85 wins, no losses, and 69 knockouts. But what made him truly special wasn't just what happened inside the ring, it was how he prepared for it. Unlike many fighters of his era, who relied mostly on brute force and aggression, Robinson approached boxing like a craft, even a science. He broke down the art of punching, studied movement like geometry, and mastered the psychology of combat. His trainer, George Gainford, quickly realized he had someone different on his hands. Gainford didn't just teach Robinson how to hit, he taught him how to think, how to read opponents, spot patterns, and turn weaknesses into opportunities. "I never seen nobody pick up things as quick as Ray," Gainford once said. He'd watch a fighter for 30 seconds and already know exactly what to do. Robinson's training was ahead of its time. While others obsessed over sheer power, he built himself around speed and perfect timing, balance and effortless coordination, ring IQ and the ability to adapt on the fly. This well-rounded, intelligent approach didn't just make Robinson great, it made him almost unbeatable at his peak. The training philosophy. Sugar Ray's training wasn't about fancy gadgets or secret formulas. In an era before sports science and cryotherapy, he relied on old-school grit. His philosophy? Master the basics, work harder than anyone else, and make every moment in the gym count. Trainer Harry Wiley, an unsung hero who learned from the legendary Jack Blackburn, was the architect of Ray's regimen. Wiley believed boxing itself was the best conditioner. Sparring, bag work, and shadow boxing weren't just drills. They were where Ray honed his craft. He didn't need machines. The ring was his laboratory. Ray trained at camps like Greenwood Lake in New York, isolating himself from distractions. He'd wake up at dawn, often before 5 a.m., and start with road work, 5 to 6 miles daily, sometimes in heavy army boots to build leg strength. This wasn't jogging. It was a relentless pace, weaving through rural roads or mountainsides to mimic the footwork he'd need to dance around opponents. Biographer Will Haygood wrote, "Timing and movement were everything. One little inch, a half inch in a split second might save you from getting knocked out." Ray knew a split-second dodge could mean the difference between victory and a hospital bed, so he ran like his life was on the line. Back at the gym, Ray's sessions were a masterclass in focus. He'd spend hours on the heavy bag, not just pounding it but perfecting combinations, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, until they flowed like a symphony. His hand speed was unreal, described as breakneck by Evolve MMA. He'd throw punches so fast opponents couldn't react, and he built that through repetitive, deliberate practice. Shadowboxing was another cornerstone. Ray would visualize opponents, slipping punches and countering in front of a mirror, refining his footwork and angles. He wasn't just fighting air, he was fighting Jake LaMotta in his mind, setting up that devastating uppercut he'd land in their 5th fight. The dancer's discipline. What many people don't know, is that Sugar Ray Robinson wasn't just a fighter, he was also a performer in the truest sense. During a brief retirement in the 1950s, Robinson formed a touring dance troupe that performed in nightclubs across the US and Europe. But this wasn't just a pastime. His love for dancing deeply influenced the way he moved in the ring. Tap dancing, Robinson's specialty, demands near-perfect timing, rhythm, balance, and foot placement, the very same qualities that made him so elusive in the ring. He brought those skills directly into his boxing, blending grace with grit. While other fighters stomped forward on flat feet, Robinson floated. Every step, every pivot, every dodge was measured and intentional, as if choreographed. He didn't just punch, he performed. His shadow boxing sessions were legendary, not just for the punches thrown, but for the movement itself. He'd spend hours practicing the subtleties, weight shifts, feints, pivots, directional changes. It wasn't random motion, it was choreography with purpose. He trained his body to move like water, impossible to pin down, always flowing, always in position to strike. Former heavyweight champ Jack Dempsey said it best, "Robinson moves like a dancer, but hits like a mule." That contrast, grace and power, was what made Ray so special. His footwork confused opponents, his rhythm disrupted their timing, and his balance allowed him to punch with full force from unexpected angles. Even his jump rope routines were elevated beyond the norm. While skipping rope is a staple for most boxers, Robinson turned it into an art form, mixing in complex footwork patterns that sharpened his coordination and rhythm. He wasn't just conditioning his body, he was fine-tuning his timing to perfection. Perhaps most ahead of his time was Robinson's approach to recovery. In an era when fighters were expected to tough it out, Ray took care of his body like a dancer would. He incorporated stretching, massage, and even yoga-like movements into his routine, decades before sports science would validate their benefits. The revolutionary routine. So what exactly did Sugar Ray Robinson's training routine look like? A typical training day in Robinson's prime: 5 a.m., wake up, lemon water. 5:30 a.m., road work. Not just jogging, but interval training with sprints and direction changes, decades before these became standard methods. 7 a.m., protein-rich breakfast. Robinson was meticulous about nutrition when many fighters ignored diet. 11 a.m., gym work. This is where Robinson's training truly separated from his contemporaries. Complex rope skipping patterns, shadow boxing, emphasizing angles and transitions, technical sparring focused on specific situations, precision work on the heavy bag, not just hitting hard, but hitting right. 2 p.m., rest and recovery. Robinson ate clean foods and was known to travel with a juicer for fresh vegetables. 4 p.m., second training session. While many fighters trained once daily, Robinson often trained twice. Strength work using medicine balls and bodyweight exercises, defensive drills and counterpunching, mental training including visualization, more technical sparring against different partners to simulate various styles. 7 p.m., dinner and early sleep. Robinson aimed for 8 to 9 hours nightly during training camps. What made this revolutionary wasn't just its intensity, but its intentionality. Every element had a specific purpose connected to skill development. Most importantly, Robinson constantly evolved his training. If something wasn't working, he abandoned it. If he saw a new technique that might help, he incorporated it without ego. This adaptability was demonstrated when Robinson moved up from welterweight to capture the middleweight title. Knowing he would need more strength without sacrificing speed, he modified his training accordingly and knocked out the naturally bigger Jake LaMotta to win the middleweight crown. The mental master. To Sugar Ray Robinson, boxing was never just about fists, it was about focus. Boxing is 80% mental and 20% physical, he once said. At a time when most fighters were obsessed with strength and stamina, Ray was quietly building a different kind of advantage, one rooted in the mind. Long before sports psychology was a thing, Robinson was using mental techniques that wouldn't become mainstream for decades. During training camps, every night he'd set aside 30 minutes to rehearse fights in his mind. Not just winning, but how to win. He visualized punches landing, footwork flowing, and how he'd respond to different styles and situations. That mental film reel became muscle memory, allowing him to react in real time without hesitation. He also practiced what we'd now call mindfulness. In the middle of fights between brutal rounds, Ray never looked rattled. While others were gulping for air, Ray sat still, calm, breathing steady, his mind clear. It was more than composure, it was control. He understood that emotions were dangerous in the ring. Anger clouded judgment, fear froze the body. Robinson trained himself to stay in what psychologists now call the zone or flow. A state of pure presence, no past, no future, just the moment, fully locked in. Opponents often spoke about his face, unreadable, expressionless, almost eerie. Jake LaMotta said it best. It was like fighting Hawkins was a machine. You couldn't tell if he was hurt, tired, or just setting you up. That ice-cold poise gave Robinson a superpower, the ability to adapt. If a strategy wasn't working, he didn't unravel. He switched gears mid-round, sometimes mid-combination, shifting from plan A to plan B, C, or D without missing a beat. And maybe most impressive of all, he could read fighters like open books. Not just their habits or patterns, but their emotions. He could sense doubt, frustration, hesitation, and he'd pounce the moment he felt it. One glance, one flinch, and Robinson knew the fight was his. That's what truly set him apart. Not just power or speed, but the brain behind it all. Robinson wasn't just built for boxing. He understood it on a level few ever have. Cool under fire, sharp under pressure, and always 2 moves ahead. The dark side, the cost of glory. Being Sugar Ray Robinson came with a price. All that brilliance, the speed, the power, the dominance, it wasn't free. Ray fought nearly 200 times, sometimes twice in a single month. That kind of schedule didn't just wear him down, it broke him down. His hands were battered from a lifetime of impact, his joints stiff from endless miles on hard pavement. But the physical pain wasn't the heaviest burden he carried. The mental toll of staying great for a quarter century was even heavier. In 1947, before his fight with Jimmy Doyle, Ray told his team he had a dream he'd kill Doyle in the ring. They brushed it off. But then it happened. A sharp left hook ended the fight, and Doyle's life. Ray was devastated. He donated his fight purse to Doyle's mother. He visited the grave. But the guilt followed him, silently, for the rest of his life. Even greatness couldn't protect him from time. Later in life, Alzheimer's disease crept in, stealing his memories that had once moved with surgical precision. For a man who had mastered space, timing, and rhythm, it was a cruel twist. And like all legends, Ray wasn't without flaws. Biographers and even Reddit threads point to a more complicated personal life, allegations of domestic issues, strained family relationships, shadows that don't fade under the spotlight of fame. Sugar Ray Robinson was larger than life in the ring, but outside of it he was human. Brilliant, yes. Groundbreaking, absolutely. But also burdened by the same pain, regret, and fragility the rest of us carry. He chased perfection in a sport built to break people, and in many ways he caught it. But not without cost. The legacy. Sugar Ray Robinson retired with a record of 174 wins, 109 by knockout, but numbers alone don't tell his story. His real legacy lives in the way modern fighters move, think, and train. From Mayweather's defense to Canelo's counters, echoes of Robinson's style are everywhere. What he pioneered, blending technical skill, mental sharpness, and full-body conditioning, is now the gold standard. Muhammad Ali, who borrowed from Robinson's style, put it simply, Robinson was the foundation. We all built on what he did. So what can athletes learn from him? Balance. Ray wasn't just fast or strong, he was everything. Smart work. He trained with purpose, every drill aimed at improvement, creativity. He pulled from dance, movement, even instinct, always adapting, mind-body unity. He knew that instincts were only as sharp as the brain behind them. These aren't just lessons for fighters. They're principles for excellence, anywhere. Sugar Ray Robinson didn't just win, he transformed the sport. He was elegance and danger, showman and destroyer. A man who danced in the ring and ended fights with a single punch. In a brutal sport, Robinson proved it could also be beautiful. He trained like an artist and like a killer, and in doing so, he became timeless. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Thank you for watching Back to Boxing.